G'day everybody, it's Dave from Wing Chun Mind Force. I'm just really having a bus rave this morning. I think my channel has pretty much covered everything I want to say about Wing Chun. I haven't really delved into the knives and the pole. There's a lot more to be done with that, so that's what you can look forward to me in more formal Wing Chun setting in my Kwun. But today I just want to get really real with you about a few things, and for those who are listening, hopefully you'll get something from this. But a lot of my friends here write to me and say, gee, I wish I could come and train with you. I wish I could go to Hong Kong and train with the guys there. I wish I could find a real Wing Chun teacher, especially in the Chu Shong Tin lineage, which is my lineage, which I think is one of the very best because of the internal force understanding that's in the lineage, and so many practitioners who have 40, 50, 60 years experience. The thing is, you can apply the heart of Wing Chun to anything, to Taekwondo, to karate, to whatever your Wing Chun teacher teaches you. If it doesn't have a handle on the internal thing, it's still a good fighting art. It's a smart fighting art, just getting in the way of the opponent, firing down the center. Don't block and punch, or don't block, punch, then kick. Just do them all at the same time. Just 2 punches and a kick, blam, at the same time. If that doesn't work, blam, another 3. I give them 3 barrels at once, I think. So the principles, the physical principles of Wing Chun, you can pretty much work out if you got some kind of basis. Like, whoever's teaching you must know some proper Wing Chun. I'm just saying that the internal stuff is much more rarefied, and it's not the fault of the teachers. It's just that, I have to be blunt here, but the Bruce Lee gravy train has a lot to do with why there's so much ineffective Wing Chun out there. It's why so many of these dickheads who think it's all bullshido pick on Wing Chun because they see Wing Chun that's ineffective. Now, it shouldn't be ineffective. Now, this idea of having to do 100 punches to knock someone down is utter horse crap. The essence of Wing Chun is 1 punch should drop them. And as I just said, 2 punches and a kick at once with true Wing Chun power should be enough for anybody, unless they're the Hulk. But getting back to you, when you can really accept that there is a different mind to the conscious mind, and if you can really accept, and I've talked at length about this, and I've come up with some solutions that should help you if you really listen to me. Just listen to what I say, watch a few times, because I'm not just coming up off the top of my head. It's many years of experience and being taught by really good people that I've freely passed on to you guys. I've never made a single cent out of these videos over 7 years or so. But if you just listen to me, accessing this other mind is not magic. You naturally have it and you use it all the time. You're just not really aware of it. When you start to think about it, you'll realize that it kicks in when you're playing sports and you do that perfect shot without a thought. You just think, oh, there was something there, I could feel it. Or when you're drawing and painting, like for people like me, drawing, and then suddenly something comes out of you that feels like it's from a different mind. It's got a beauty and a brightness that's hard to put your finger on what it is, but you didn't think it out. And Kung Fu's the same. Wing Chun's not the only one that has this. That's the thing. We, in our ignorance and our pride, often think we're the only ones. Even us Chu Shong Tin people can get pretty proud that we're the ones who've got the internal force and everyone else is missing out. But I don't really believe that's true. I think it's just that only certain practitioners, even in the arts, that have this understanding get it. So I'm one of the people that gets it. So that's why you should listen to me, because I'm just trying to give you a gift. And the main gift is just stop trying so hard. Believe that you've got this superpower within you that's just called nature. And stop worrying about fighting so much, and just stand. Just relax and work on that. Like, a lot of people say to me, I can't still my mind, Dave. I can't stop thinking. I can't stop worrying. Well, there you go. Until you can learn that bit, why bother about anything else? Like, put your effort into learning to still your mind. Now, there's lots of ways I learned how to do it. One chief one was yoga. Good Iyengar yoga I practice, but there's other forms that are just as good. But yoga requires you to balance and to breathe and to move in a way that you just stop thinking, because there's no room for thinking. As soon as you think, you start to wobble, you fall over. So that concentration. If you go back to my old videos where I'm walking on a plank, where I'm walking on a rope, where I'm balancing sticks on my hands, I'm sure some people think, oh, this guy's full of shit. As if that's any use. What's that? Like a little circus trick. They just missed the whole point. I'm saying that those practices will help you find that other mind, to distinguish the difference. And you'll find that when you're doing those things, if you think, you'll lose the balance. You'll start to wobble on the fence, especially the rope walking. If you start to think anything, start to think, oh, I hope I can do this, you'll fall off. So those simple practices, they mightn't be Wing Chun, but they actually are Wing Chun. That's finding that other mind. That's what Yip Man said to Chu Shong Tin when he was young. He said, what's the secret, master? And he just said, Lop Nim. Find that other mind. Find the Lim mind, the Nim Dao, which is the subconscious, the superconscious, the unconscious, whatever. It's not the thinking mind. So if you can just believe me and do this, you can let go all your other practice for a fair while. Just do this. Find a way to quieten your mind. And you can do it with Wing Chun. I find Indian music, like real classical stuff with sitar, tabla drums, not singing, but you don't want to see, words activate the conscious mind. So classical Indian and really old Chinese music and Japanese, anything that puts you into that timeless space is the go, because you want time to stop and you want to just be. And you'll know when you're in that space, you'll feel this peace, and if you're lucky, you'll feel a bliss, and you'll feel like you're 1,000,000 years old, and you'll suddenly feel like there's no life or death. You just exist. You just are. So it truly is a spiritual experience. And you can do it with basic Wing Chun. But for me, I had to do something physical like yoga, because I'm a very volatile person. And I overthink. And I am intelligent. I'm, been tested when I was a kid to be, fairly up there. But the downside of that is you think too much. And you worry, and you neurotically pick yourself apart. And just as a side, this period now we're going through with all the social media and everybody constantly flipping out and arguing about all the new sexual ideas, the new identity ideas, all sorts of stuff. It really reminds me as an old timer of the 70s, which was a time where people were breaking away from the straitjacket of really conservative old ways where, this is the way and that's it. And you can't diverge, otherwise you get persecuted. And in the 70s, people were really into breaking all that, but they became over-neurotic. And if you watch movies from the 70s, they're often quite annoying because they're just constantly like, what's it all about, man? And trying to work it all out but they overthink. They sort of neurotically constantly sort of eat themselves, and I see young people especially doing that now. It just takes me back to that time, and I've done that stuff. I think finding yoga and Wing Chun was the greatest thing in my life, because I never really was that worried physically about fighting. I'm a big guy and a pretty ferocious person when you piss me off, and I never had too much trouble dealing with people, aggressive people, but Wing Chun's far superior for fighting people like that. But the thing is, Wing Chun gave me peace. It calmed my mind down, and it taught me very interesting things about how the mind can be put into not just yourself, but into sticks and other things, into another person, into a dummy. It's very real stuff, and it's actually metaphysical. It sort of defies physics in a way. Well, it defies mechanistic physics, which incredibly is still the main paradigm, but for 100 years physicists have known that we consist of quanta of light, basically packets of light, and that consciousness is obviously the first thing, and then matter arises out of consciousness rather than vice versa, where people mechanistic ways, we've got this brain in here, my consciousness comes from that brain, the brain generates consciousness. Whereas the top physicists 100 years ago and right through the 20th century and now realize that no, that's not actually true. It seems that consciousness creates matter, so when you look at something it becomes real. And this gets in that freaky territory where it's like, I'm seeing these trees in front of me. If I look over there, are they still there? Well, they might be. Maybe they're not. It's very strange stuff, modern physics. So Wing Chun as a kung fu, as a metaphysical art, it's delving into what is the nature of reality, what's possible. And I think anything's possible. Personally, I really do. And I told my son a few years ago, when I'm 900 years old, I hope to be lifting rocks with my mind. And I'll probably have shrunk down to the size of Yoda by then. But who knows? Maybe it's possible to do that. Maybe when I'm 130 I'll be able to do it. But keep trying, guys. Anybody, I know there's a lot of people out there who agree with me in all this. So that's my message for today. Don't despair if you're nowhere near a good kung fu teacher. This thing I'm talking about is the essence. This is everything. You can apply tiger style, you can apply dragon style, leopard style, Japanese sword, wrestling, BJJ, Jiu-Jitsu is perfect for this Wing Chun way, and I just haven't been able to find somebody to practice with. I need to find somebody who won't try to show me that they're more powerful and try to, crack my bones. I need somebody that will do that, but when I'm ready, so that we can just sort of work into it, because I believe that the Wing Chun principles will make a remarkable difference with Jiu-Jitsu. Because Jiu-Jitsu is super smart. I really like it. And same as I love Judo, I love the Japanese sword, the way of the sword. But this approach we have in our internal Wing Chun really applies to anything. And Wing Chun helped me to become a double-handed drawer. Got me an ad for Qantas. Really huge opportunity in life. Not many people get the chance to make a unique ad for a international airline. And the thing that I'm really putting my energy into now is it's called Viking Superpowers. And it's a bit of a sexed up name, but I'm an expert in the Viking Age. I speak Icelandic. I've read the Viking sagas, the old stories, history of the Vikings since the 70s. So I'm putting a lot of energy into Viking superpowers because I'm finding in the ancient sagas a lot of very strange and interesting stuff, but part of what I'm finding is what I believe is like Wing Chun. Why were their warriors so powerful? Why did they often fight with two hands at once, throw two spears at once, fight with two swords or a sword and a spear? It's really common in the stories. And I read those stories and immediately I'm thinking about the Bar Charm doll. And I'll leave you with this weird idea that I've got, which I think has legs, as they say, even though this guy was said to have no legs. The founder of Kung Fu in Shaolin was an Indian monk called Bodhidharma. But the funny thing about this monk, he didn't look like an Indian. You know, he wasn't a handsome, black-haired, brown-eyed dude. He was a red-headed, blue-eyed barbarian. And that's what the Japanese called him. Dharma-san was supposed to be a blue-eyed, red-headed barbarian. And people often say, oh yes, he was a Trochairan Iranian or Persian or something. It's like, yeah, maybe. Why couldn't he be a European? Why couldn't he be like a Viking or a Scotsman or somebody like that? Honestly, people got around, and the idea is that only in the ancient East were these stories around, but the truth is, even the martial arts of the medieval period and even later in the Renaissance are lost. Like, there's a thing called a quarterstaff, which was made famous in Robin Hood stories, but you know, if you guys are oldies like me, you'll know the Robin Hood stories. If you're younger, you're probably not really. But there's a thing called a quarterstaff, which is this fearsome weapon, basically probably 6 to 8 foot long, used in merry old England, but it would have had real strong hard wood and iron shot on the ends. And the old stories say that swordsmen and knights even were really scared of masters of this art. They were pretty much like the Shaolins of old England. And yeah, so much of those old ways are forgotten because of the gun. You know, once the gunpowder came in, they could have whole armies of dudes who didn't have to be martial artists, didn't have to spend years training. But I think a lot of stuff was lost, and I suspect that this idea of using this other mind, this being soft and relaxed, I think it's an ancient European idea as well as an ancient Eastern idea. So this Viking superpowers, it's one of the superpowers, is I'm delving into that, the possibilities in martial arts. I can't prove this because, you know, there's not much, but there's enough to start thinking about it and put it out there as a maybe, a possibility. This red-headed, blue-eyed barbarian, a bit like me, was the founder of Kung Fu. So where did it come from? And I think Kung Fu is something that probably goes back to the Stone Age, this knowledge of generating force. It's so superior to just muscle. When you feel it, you think, wow, this is a superpower, and it's actually what you need to fight bears and wolves and cougars and, you know, all that stuff. To hunt those things, you need to have a power above just ordinary human muscle, or, you know, maybe what you could call as the real human animal. So I'll leave it at that. I've enjoyed talking to you. I don't know how many people still watch my videos. Thanks to those who've commented to me. I've had very few comments recently. I feel like the whole thing's gone to sleep, but it's probably my fault because I haven't been focused as much on it. I'm really into the Viking superpowers thing. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening there. But I'm not going to give this up. Wing Chun means a heck of a lot to me. And even as just one of you keenly following me out there, I'll keep making the bloody videos, alright? But I do ask you, please go over the old stuff. There's a lot hidden in there. There's that undoubtedly has been misunderstood or gone over people's heads, and maybe you saw it a few years ago, go and have another look, because you've advanced since then. So you might go, what's that? I'm trying to think of a Kung Pao joke. When the Wushu for Simba, you know, the lion thing's up in the clouds telling the chosen one. Anyway, you had to be there. You might know that joke. I'll see you later. Have a great week. Look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.